welcome to another Demarcation Media LEGO review. Today we are going to be looking at an old Kingdom set, which feels weird saying it's old because I used to see these sets in Target and whatnot back when they first came out. But this is the Kingdom's Joust. This was the set that when I was younger, it was always the, oh my gosh, that would be the best thing ever if I could get that set. So I wanted to take a look at it because there's not many Kingdoms reviews out there. And, you know, it's still a really, really cool set. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So I never got the box for this set. I only got it used, so this is what I've got to show off the box art, because this is the same as the front of the box. And I have to say, the Kingdoms line always got me with the box art. All of LEGO's fantasy stuff has been pretty good box art-wise, but the Kingdoms line in particular just really felt amazing. Like, it's hard to describe the feeling I get looking at this. The way the light is, the way the clouds are, the way the fields and the trees are, with the mountains off in the distance, it really just makes me think of, like, I don't know, like going on quests and, like, I don't know, finding adventure and swinging swords. And it, honestly, this area that they show in the background looks very similar to where I grew up. And I think that has something to do with it. And I don't know, it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. And I wish that LEGO would do that with their castle stuff. I think this is what I really miss. Their new castle stuff has been fantastic, but the box art has been so lacking, where it's just like plain black with the model shown. Whereas this makes me think of it's a part of a story and it belongs in a fantasy world instead of just on a dark shelf kind of a thing. Hopefully that makes sense and it doesn't sound like I'm just randomly ranting. You get 2 instruction booklets, and I think also the whole inside is made to look like brick. Oh, is there not an ad? There's the checklist. I thought that there was like something showing off all the other sets. Oh, perhaps not. Interesting. Well, I really thought that was a thing. But anyway, absolutely amazing. I love this art. Our first minifigure is this Peasant Boy. Now, the first thing I want to say real quick is that this guy actually has the wrong face. He's supposed to have that same face, but with a more like smiling expression. That is not a head that I got with the set when I bought it, so this is close enough. It's the same, literally the same face except for the expression. This is really cool because we didn't often get like civilian figures, if you want to say it that way. So it's nice to get this little guy. His torso looks really good. It's like kind of worn. He's got a belt made out of rope. He's got that classic looking hood. Comes with a pitchfork, I guess, to clean up the horse droppings. And I don't know, it's nice to get somebody who's not a knight. And you could easily turn this guy, if you gave him tall legs and like a dagger, you could turn him into some sort of rogue if you wanted to. But it's nice to just get some of the normal Kingdom people every now and again. Our next figure is this Maiden. I'm not sure if she's affiliated with a specific faction, but she appears to be fairly well off with that gold embroidered dress. And this is also a really interesting figure because it shows the like middle class of the kingdom, which is not something we got very often, like the lords and ladies that aren't part of the king's entourage or the enemy's side. She does kind of match the dragons, so she could be the dragon's princess if you wanted her to be, but she just seems to be a festival goer for this event. Torso print is done really well. The dress print, while this is the old dress piece, that's just a brick, the print is done really well too. And the face and hair, we've seen them before, but they work pretty well in this situation. Next up, we have a lord of some sort, and this guy honestly does not look like the nicest guy. He's got kind of a conniving look on his face. That beard and the long hair makes me think he's not the nicest fellow. But he's got a very richly embroidered vest, which is pretty cool. That's supposed to be white print on his back, but it's rather pink. LEGO has a problem with that, even all the way back then, and they still have it now. The like grapes is an interesting like motif, and this is a figure that, again, we often get directly connected figures, it's like, oh, this is a lion's figure or a dragon's figure. But this guy's kind of neither. His colors would imply that he is a lord in the lion's kingdom, perhaps the king's advisor, but I would not trust him. He looks very untrustworthy. Our next two figures are lion soldiers because the king could not go to an event without protection. So they've got the tabard with the lions red and white checkered. The white's actually printed pretty well, surprisingly. They both share the same torso, legs, helmet, pretty much everything because, you know, it is a uniform. Their heads are different. They both come with spears. And the bearded guy actually has an alternate face, which is pretty cool. These guys are basically the simplest run-of-the-mill foot soldiers, which in my opinion makes them pretty valuable because you get a lot of knights, but the foot soldiers are more rare. So these guys are perfect. They make perfect guards, and I think while they're simple, I mean, they don't have any leg printing or anything, they work out pretty darn well. Next, we do have a knight. This guy is here for the joust. He is a lion knight. He's got a very, very richly printed chest plate underneath. He's got a torso that we've seen before. The helmet is pretty nice. It's one of those older, classic kind of closed-faced ones. He's got a red plume. The shield that he's got is pretty nice. We get those all across this theme, and it's nice to get another one. The face underneath appears to be Jang bricks, so I guess Jang is affiliated with the Lion Kingdom. And the legs are printed with some chainmail. Overall, really cool figure. Back when I was younger, this guy would have been probably my favorite out of the lineup because, you know, Knight is awesome and he's got the printed armor and everything. So he's essentially everything that a knight should be. He's ready to slay the dragon. He's ready to go save the princess, ready to do all of it, and he's gonna look great in the process. This guy here was a strange rarity back when this theme came out because primarily the knights in this kingdom were the lion knights or the dragon knights, there to terrorize the lion's kingdom. However, this guy appears to be affiliated with the Black Falcons. The torso underneath his armor is that of a dragon knight, but this armor on over top of it would show that he is not quite a dragon. Now, I found it interesting. I just noticed that the armor is actually really worn. There's like gray scratches and splatters on it, which makes me think he's traveled a long way. He's maybe here for this tournament because he's desperate for funds, resources, gold, something. The shield is really awesome. It's got the Black Falcon symbol, but it's got like rivets on the outside. The current Black Falcon shields do not share that riveting look. The helmet is all black plume as well. And the face underneath is a very stern one. So this guy is here to win, and he is not letting anybody get in his way. This guy is not your typical knight in shining armor. He looks rather intimidating and ruthless, but he's not evil. Here we have the queen. She's got this gold and red print all down the front of her dress. The print would have been nice to put on the back, but Lego never printed the back of these brick pieces. So we just get the print on the back of her torso, which is pretty nice. It's got like the ties for her dress. Her hair is pretty nice. It was originally used for Princess Leia, I think. And then she's got like a crown pegged into it. And that face is really cool because there was also used, I don't know if it was used before or not because I didn't check the dates, but it was used by Samantha Rhodes from the Atlantis theme. And she's got a kind of smiling, happy face and then a very frustrated face on the other side. I used to have a handful of the Samantha Rhodes figures and I loved Atlantis when I was a kid. So I get a bit of nostalgia from seeing that face in use. And lastly, we have the king himself, the one who leads his loyal troops into battle, the one who stands against the evil forces of the Dragon Knights. And in this particular case, he's not all dressed up for battle. In the castle, he was all in his full battle gear, battle armor, and everything. He had his sword. But this time, since he's here for a joust within his own kingdom, he is dressed up in his royal finery with a big gold necklace around his neck. He's got a little lion pendant hanging off of his belt. The face is great. I love that bearded, kind of very slight smile face. And the crown, of course, is the true gem of this figure because it's one of those chrome crowns. You could put a plume in the top if you wanted to. He's also got a dark red cape that obscures the print on his back a bit, and it is an old, stiffer cape. I loved getting the king figure. He was like When you were collecting these when you were younger, at least for me, getting the king was like, oh my gosh, you have the king. Like the king. And Lego doesn't do the king anymore. That was my huge gripe with the Lion Knight's castle, is there was no king. There has always been a king. Since Lego's first theme, I think it was King Leo was the first one. And then in every consecutive castle theme after that, there has been a king. And it was always the coolest thing to get the king. But the Lion Knight's castle just came with a princess, which was like, yeah, that's cool, but I would also like a king in addition. So this guy does not quite match the new lions, which is sad to me, but he is a fantastic figure, and I love that crown. Starting off the builds, I wanted to look at the Lion Knight's kind of gear. I don't know what you want to call it, his stuff. So we have a tent, which is fully brick built, and it's really actually well done. The shaping is really nice. I like the striping on it. We got a little flag on top to just make it more impressive. He's got a horse fully armored up with a like unicorn horn ready to do battle. He comes with a sword, which can be clipped to the saddle. However, I do not recommend doing that. Those clips are freakishly fragile. And then he's, of course, got a lance, very big, got the huge like shield on it. And then inside the tent, there is a mace as his secondary weapon, I guess, for the melee section of the Joust. So all of this is very cool, paired with the knight. Looks great. And this could honestly be its own set, like getting a knight, a horse, a tent, and some weapons. That's the kind of thing that Lego would have done then. My only real complaint about the stuff here is the white print on the horse's armor, like livery, everything is a bit weak and pink as usual. Other than that, looks great. You get basically the same thing for the Falcon Knight or the Black Knight, but his horse's livery is different. There are no symbols on it, and it's also got that worn look, like he's been traveling for a long time. And the tent is a different build. There's kind of more flow to it. The stripes are still there. It's still got the flag, but it's a bit different. And you do get a different weapon inside. He's got a very large battle axe. So the melee will be a very brutal thing. Mace, or actually it's a flail versus battle axe. You also get a lance, of course, because he needs a lance for the joust, and a sword, which again, you could clip to that saddle, but I don't recommend that you do that because that could break them. The horse for both knights is the old style horse that has the kind of more blocky look and cannot rear up on its hind legs. The head can move up and down, however. Our next build is the King and Queen's booth. This is really cool. There's a lot of gold studs. We've got some stairs up the back. There's some wine and some refreshments in the form of cherries on a gold plate. There's a lot of space underneath the whole stand with some green grass. You get flags for both knights up top, and the whole thing is done in the striping of the Lion Knights. Now, this is all built in the brown color, which means it doesn't age well. There's a chance that any of these pieces could explode when I take it apart, and that is very concerning. That aside, though, it looks really nice. This can fit into basically any sort of event you want your kingdom to have, and the build is good. Simple, but good. I feel like that kind of sums up the way that Lego used to do these kingdom sets. The builds were simple. There was not a ton of super clever building techniques, but it did the job. Really, really nice. And again, this could be a standalone thing. Totally could be a standalone thing. So the way this set is done is the main build actually separates into 3 parts. And so this part right here is a wall with a bit of like bleachers on it, if you want to call it that, medieval bleachers. The wall is built really cool. There's like round pieces in there to help it look more like brick. They're not using any of the special brick pieces, just building technique to make it look more interesting. And there's a little ladder to climb up, and you can get a better view of the joust. There's 2 shields, again, Falcon and Lion. And then there's a little bucket down on the side to help the little peasant boy clean up the horse droppings, I'm supposing. The edges can fold, and it can be attached to the main structure, which we will look at in a bit. The wall for the other side has this little structure on it. I guess this would be more like maybe the Baron or Lord's booth. And it's like a little fancier, enclosed. It's got some wine there, so you can kind of relax out of sight of all the unruly, dirty peasant crowds and observe the joust in comfort. The wall is built very much the same. But there's no way to actually get in here. There's no ladder up the back, no nothing. I do like the supports on the front. It looks fantastic from almost all angles. The back is very open. I'm not really opposed to it being open. I just wish there was a ladder back there because it doesn't make sense. Like, you just have to teleport up there. I don't know. That's my only real complaint. That and the dark, or the just normal brown. There is some dark brown. That typically is okay, but that brown... The main section is too big for me to get it on the turntable. We have these very tall towers, and they're connected by this bridge here. There's like a stained glass window, which is really neat. There's a door down here. There's like some vines growing up the inside with flowers. There's that on both sides. There's a door on both sides. We've got a balcony over here. And honestly, this looks brilliant. It looks like the gate into perhaps the Lion's City. And it holds up to this day, I think, build-wise. Like, yes, it's not super complex, but I think it holds up. Looks nice around the side. Now, there is kind of a gimmick here, but it's one I don't think many people have done because it requires you to have two, because you can back them up to each other and it'll form two full towers and a full like archway, which is cool, but like this set's so hard to get these days that that's pretty much impossible. Also, it's very sizable. On the topmost floor, or I guess the topmost would be up in the towers, there's not really much there. There's a rat there, and that's it. On that side, you see a table, which is pretty cool. It's built with the legs as brown frogs. I think it's really clever. You can walk across the bridge to the other side where there's like a dresser with some, I don't know if that's makeups or like potions or what, but you could assume that's maybe the queen's room or whatever. Down there, you have the balcony and like also a little dresser of some sort. At the bottom, you've got that door, and then there is a map there. That's pretty cool. The door can open. This is one of those doors that can accept a key into the keyhole. I always thought those were the coolest thing ever. Lego doesn't use them enough. Over on this side, there is a stand for a book. Actually, I don't remember where I put the book, but it's just a normal Lego book piece. And then the stained glass window, which looks fantastic. And then down below that is just another section with a door. So there's not a whole ton of like posing space for your figures. So I mean, you can put a figure down here. You can have a figure just barely stand there. You can have a figure stand there, or like watch from the bridge. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's just, there's not a whole lot of space. It's more of a facade than anything else. It's a fantastic facade, but that's about all it is. Also, there's cheese up in the attic. Oh, and if you really wanted to, you could put some soldiers up top to help guard the whole thing, which I think looks great. Let's put the other guy up there. There we go. Yeah, it looks fantastic, and it's very imposing, especially when viewed from down here. But again, you know, there's just not a whole ton of space. And there's everything all attached together. You can hinge this out flat if you want to. Kind of have it just form a solid wall, or you can curve it inward. And the interesting thing is there are more connection points on either end. So if you were to get two, you could attach two house things on one side and two bleachers on the other, or mix it up and just make the walls wrap a little bit more. Or you could build your own walls, because it's not hard to replicate those connection points and kind of make more battlements or something. There's options, and I think that was pretty nice of them to add that. And the ability to take it from a flat display to a kind of curved display is also a nice touch. I very nearly forgot the final build. This is a little, I don't know what you want to call it, fence runner thing to put in the middle so that the guys can joust down either side. You've got another Falcon shield on one side and another lion shield on the other, and a frog. He better be careful because he could be trampled. I love Lego's tendency to just throw random frogs into things. Like, that's just great. I love that. Well, there you have it. That is the Kingdoms Joust set. This, I know for a lot of people, is kind of a grail set, and I can really see why. it's so good on display. It looks so nice. The way that the buildings are structured, the way that all the little side builds work together, it's really nice. But there's one major problem, or I guess two major problems. I don't really know what the retail was for this set. I'm assuming around 100 something. But at this point, it is completely irrelevant because this set is valued at typically in the 200 to 300 range, depending on what the state of the set is, you know, sealed, complete, whatever. And the other problem, you know, aside from the really high price, is that LEGO's releasing more medieval sets like the Lion Knight's Castle and now the Medieval Village. And this set, when compared to the Medieval Village, there's like current prices, I don't know. I just feel like the newer castle sets are providing more value in some ways and less value in others. But like now this kind of is competing against that. But for people who want to complete the Kingdoms line, people who want the old LEGO nostalgia factor, which this set gives me a lot of nostalgia even though I didn't have it when I was younger, this is fantastic. Like, I wish that they would remake this. They've done a castle, they've done a medieval village. Please, LEGO, make us a Joust next. We need a Joust. That would be so good. Matching the castle and the village. And then, I guess there's three major issues, because the brown. Ooh, that brown scares me. Really, it does. It's frightening. But, yeah, I mean, I love this set. I think it's amazing. It does take up a lot of space. And like I said, the newer castle stuff does provide a better value overall, but it's a Joust. This was the set that I dreamed about getting when I was younger. It is everything that a young boy would dream of in a castle set. You have a knight to go against your good knight. You have the king, you have the soldiers, you got it's just good. It's just good. And of course, these instructions look brilliant as well. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.